Okay, let's get started. Once again, thank you everyone who's been able to join the webinar today, and welcome to the folks who are already here. We'll hopefully see more attendees coming on board. Today's webinar, it's one among a series of other webinars we've had in the past, and which we will continue to do. We're going to talk about how one of our key strategic customers, UNiDAYS, has been testing at scale and speed on the cloud using the BrowserStack product. And as part of our webinar today, we will also address a lot of burning questions which many of you might have on how to test at scale, how to address complexities in testing, how to get access to the right devices at the right time, how to take care of other concerns around data security, data privacy, compliance, and etc. etc. Joining us today is Prabhu Maniraj, the head of quality assurance at UNiDAYS. We'll have him quickly talk about himself and his organization in just a bit. But I'll go first. My name is Aditya. You'll see my name on the screen over there. It's a long, complicated Indian name. People call me Addy, so feel free to refer to me by that name. I'm the director of sales at BrowserStack. Been here for a little more than 9 years now, so I've got a vast amount of exposure to where the organization was a few years ago and how it's evolved. I'll hand it over to Prabhu. Prabhu, a little bit about what the organization does, UNiDAYS does, and what you do with the organization. And welcome on board.
Hey, Ari, thanks for the introduction. That's really appreciated. Yeah, I'm Prabhu Maniraj. I'm heading up a QA function for UNiDAYS. UNiDAYS are the digital identity verification provider as a market leading in this space at this moment. We are focusing more towards the students and graduates. What we do is we are helping the students and graduates to get on their journey in terms of learning, earning, and growing in their career and their in life as well. How do we do that is we help the partners to advertise themselves, the plethora of products they have onto our advertisement platform. We call it disruptive advertising. So they post all those things and make sure that the students and the graduates get engaged with those being advertised, and it's a mutual win-win for them. And we are the platform which enables the students to engage with the right partners and the right experience they get based on their engagement. So that's what we are doing at this moment. Pretty much about what UNiDAYS does. So yeah, over to you, Adi.
Thank you. Can you also, maybe spend a few seconds on talking about what your role at the organization is, what you manage? We'll obviously talk about much other deeper stuff in the next few slides and as part of the webinar, but just a quick introduction about your role at the organization as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are starting to set up the QA function within UNiDAYS as part of, we call a product and engineering team who is the backbone of keeping the lights on, as well as getting the feature set and the enhancements on the platform out to the customers safe and secure, and also with the expected utmost quality that they can expect from us. As I mentioned, we are a growing QA organization now at this moment within UNiDAYS. I come from a vast experience of working with loads and loads of corporates, but this is my first ever experience working with a product. I used to set up the test COE or test functions for the large corporates and the large banks, insurance companies, and retail organizations. I felt this is the right time for me to get my hands dirty, rolling up the sleeves as well. So this is where my journey started with UNiDAYS. And we are trying to get every other product delivered with the maximum quality that we can envision and we can think of. That's our primary goal at this moment from the QA function. And what I do, I try to steer that ahead, and also getting the right support for the right people and strategizing everything right from the beginning or right from the scratch. Be it the test automation, or be it the recruitment strategy, be it what do we want to do with our tools and tools ops and the platforms and what we have. So I played the role of more of a QA architect as well as heading up the QA function. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you. And once more, thank you so much for your time today. And Prabhu, I know there's a lot more you do, which you might probably not be, disclosing at this moment. But and this is what we aim to do as part of this session, and this is for the attendees. Prabhu has probably been very modest in his description about what he does at the organization. There's a lot of other deeper collaboration both UNiDAYS and BrowserStack have been going through over the last few months. And as part of this session, we're going to be sharing some part of that knowledge over. But quick housekeeping items before then. This session will run for 60 minutes. You have all of those housekeeping items on the slide as well, but I'll quickly walk through them anyway. 60-minute session. The session is being recorded. And the recording obviously will be made available to all the attendees after the session is done. All participants will be muted by default. So this webinar can continue uninterrupted, but it does not mean that we're not willing to take questions. We are more than happy to. And there is a Q&A button somewhere on your Zoom screen, on your webinar screen. So you should be able to click on that and post questions to us. We have people on standby from our engineering team who will be able to answer the technical questions and some business questions as well. But we also have 15 minutes set aside at the end of this session for Prabhu and me to be able to answer any unanswered questions too. All right, Prabhu and I have actually kind of disclosed what the agenda of today's webinar is going to be like. But just quickly reiterating, this is a webinar, but we want to make sure it's more of a knowledge sharing session. UNiDAYS is one of our key strategic customers based out of the UK, and we want to make sure that the knowledge both parties have gained from each other, working and collaborating with each other, is propagated to the larger developer and engineering audience that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So we'll be talking about UNiDAYS, about the testing challenges UNiDAYS faces, what situation they were in, the challenges they faced before BrowserStack was adopted, before they started even evaluating cloud vendors or cloud testing platforms, the solutions they were looking for, the benefits they're seeing from adopting a solution like BrowserStack, what were the key features they were looking for, or their evaluation metrics per se. Followed by spending a few minutes towards the end to talk about what our vision, the BrowserStack vision is, where we see our product today, our platform today, and how we see it evolving over the next few months, few quarters, and few years. And of course, there's a section at the end for Q&A. We're happy to answer any questions. Feel free to fire them away. All right. Let's actually, before we go on to the next slide, let's actually start this webinar with a quick poll question. We'll see that coming up on your screen. We'll probably give attendees around 20 seconds to answer. Interesting question. Biggest challenge people are facing. I'd love to see what the results are.
Resonates a lot with me.
All right, last 5 to 6 seconds. Cool. Can we see the results? Oh, wow. That's interesting. I was always assuming people have a lot to, especially organizations, have issues with data privacy. But Prabhu, out of curiosity, how does this resonate with what you've seen in the past working at UNiDAYS and other organizations?
Absolutely. This resonates well with what the challenges we faced and what was our use cases towards going for a cloud-based device form solution when we wanted to evaluate various other vendors. This is absolutely, but yeah, as you rightly pointed, I'm curious to understand why the privacy was taking a lower hit, but many of the organizations are moving towards data privacy as their core, and they wanted to, owing to the various the compliance and the GDPR and various other acts which are prevailing at this moment. Post-Brexit, I think we are hit with various other compliance programs running up. I think that's paramount at this moment to be having a more privacy compliant solution that we need to be adopting. And with respect to the real device coverage, yeah, I could see many people, yeah, that is something that the best benefit that the device form can provide. And that's precisely the reason that we have gone with BrowserStack at this moment. And we can talk about it during the course of this webinar as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's actually, and that's a point I would definitely like to dive into. And the reason I'm surprised that 51% of the respondents are talking about real device coverage as a challenge is because, obviously we'll dive much deeper into it, but in this day and age, my assumption was a lot of organizations have already started moving away from emulators and simulators to real devices for better coverage, for more reliability. But interesting stuff. Thank you, Prabhu. All right. Now, let's now discuss, very briefly for the next few minutes, Prabhu, what are some of the business challenges that UNiDAYS was facing, and why was testing at scale and speed, an issue that you were actually looking into? Is that something you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably I would like to take you on a little journey, not a detour though, but so UNiDAYS, we cater to the student and graduate community, roughly over 30 million members across the globe, and we operate in 52 plus regions. Yeah, I'd say 20 million plus end users. I had ratified with my the data and insights team that yes, it stands at 30 million plus now. So, so when I joined UNiDAYS as a lead, I find that this platform is used by close to 20 plus or 25 plus 30 million users across the globe, across various regions. And the first thing came to my mind was like, it's a scale and the speed at which we have to get the product features to the hands of the end customers, or which in this case, it's the students and the graduates. And the millennials, the students, the Gen Z we are talking about, they want everything faster. They want everything like, I need this yesterday.
I can imagine, yes.
They can think, I'm sure many of our even kids are Gen Zs, are upcoming Gen Zs now. So they think of something, they want it straight away. And that's a scale and speed at which that we are operating. And when I wanted a device form or cloud solution which closely augments my needs towards the journey that we were embarking, the challenge that we faced with was, we are app first strategy. We are app heavy, and we have web platform as well, but the significant releases were going on the app side, like every other 2 weeks we have a release. So testing those app releases on plethora of devices we have. Every other day there is a new manufacturer comes up with something or the other, but with a base which is Android and iOS. So we can't really procure the devices on a day in, day out, and keeping them on a shelf and then keeping them maintained and whatnot. I know this might sound like this is a problem statement that used to be there even before probably 10, 15 years, but yeah, it is still existing. It's going to exist going forward as well. And also maintaining them. The critical thing that we wanted to have was that the backward compatibility. Like if we want to test something on, let's say, iOS 12, how do we go back? And on a large scale of device that if we procure. So first thing is like, we don't want to go on procuring new devices, which is going to be so much cost involved, plus maintaining them. You need a place, and as good as like you're buying a big rack server with all the cooling fan and everything, it's really not sustainable. And then again, maintaining their versions and whatnot. So it's never going to be the easy solution. And the other thing is like, we wanted these devices to be present in that specific geolocation. For example, if we want to test something in India, we want the device to be present in India and then test on it. In US, New Zealand, Sweden, China, wherever, name a region we work for, we wanted a real device popping up in that particular geolocation, and then we want to test on it. So that's where we had those critical decision factors, which are the geolocation capability and ease of use and configuring a solution, and the device availability. And people may think of like why we are saying the two decision factors I'm going to say about community support and tech support. People don't really care about, but we do care because, as I mentioned, we are embarking on this journey. We are not the pros or the experts in this area. So we need the regular constant support until we get to this baseline state where we can operate more like self-sufficient. So yeah, hope I explained the background of who we are and then why we wanted to go to this solution and etc. So yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. I think that's a good background on the scale. One, obviously the business challenges and the scale at which you were facing that challenge. And actually, my next question is, on that same note, how did you go about tackling these business challenges? You did mention, and I know for a fact that you must have evaluated other vendors as well, BrowserStack, XYZ. So what was the thought process behind how you solve for those challenges, how you tackle them? What were those key metrics you looked at when you were evaluating these other vendors and BrowserStack? Anything you could shed some light?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, like we had one of the competitor within our product and engineering for a very tiny amount of usage. And when we wanted to go with the full scale, we ran a survey among our developers, engineers, and the various other teams to understand what's their appetite towards moving towards cloud-based device form solution.
Yeah.
So the survey results were all coming back saying that they were all in need of the real device. Plus, they wanted to use a solution which could be used easily. There's not a cumbersome or lengthy steps towards configuring them to even putting that to use.
Yeah.
And then talks about data privacy. When we want to use a device, we don't want to see somebody else's information already captured or is there persistent. So these were the critical decision factors, as I mentioned earlier in my background as well. So we had roughly around 12 plus decision factors, but the critical decision factors were like ease of use and configuration, geolocation availability, and the geolocation capability, device availability. For example, if I want to test on iPhone 14 or iPhone 15, I want to have the device. I don't want to keep waiting for that device to be made available because someone else is using. So that's one. And obviously, community support. We don't want to rely upon always the vendor support team because their efforts need not be monopolized with us. They can be repurposed or utilized more wisely elsewhere. And obviously the tech support. So these were the critical decision factors that we have used to evaluate a vendor. With BrowserStack, I'm not new to BrowserStack, so I've seen and heard a lot about BrowserStack over the past 5-6 years, where my teams were using it. I was not the direct recipient or the direct consumer of the product, but I always heard the good stories about it. Yeah. So when we wanted to evaluate, we took 3 different vendors. So BrowserStack was one of them, and obviously, as part of this evaluation process, we had this initiate, engage, evaluate, feedback, and finalize strategy. Excuse me. So we put every other vendor through this journey, like engaging with them, evaluating properly with careful consideration, ticking all the boxes, or where are we lacking. Through the journey, we always check about, are we getting the right tech support when needed? Are they being more proactive enough in suggesting or recommending us the right solution that we may wanted, and etc. And then goes with the feedback mechanism and then finalizing. So that's how we went. And here we are. So we are with the BrowserStack now. So all good at this moment.
Thank you, and it's been lovely to have you on board. From the last few months of engagement that we've had, I'm really excited about the collaboration both teams have been able to get through. So yeah, thank you.
Same here.
Let's now dive a little deeper into the solution. How did BrowserStack meet your requirements? We've spoken about the challenges you faced. We've spoken about how you were looking at tackling the challenges. What were the key important metrics you were looking at? How was BrowserStack able to meet those requirements or be able to live up to those challenges? Could you shed some light on that? And also maybe as part of the narrative, how are you going about adopting the solution?
Sure thing, Hari. Yeah, the first and foremost was that ease of use and configuration, that we were able to engage with the solution straight away from the day zero, to be honest. I would say when we are given a trial during our evaluation, we didn't have any problem at all, be it geolocation testing. BrowserStack has got a fantastic UI where the moment when your URL is loaded or an app is loaded, you can just go and then select the IP or the location where you want the device to be. So it quickly refreshes and then brings you back exactly the in-country specific information that what you wanted to see. So that's a big tick in the box for us.
Yep.
And with coming back to the device coverage, so we have good options, the variety of devices to choose with. Based on our insights and an analytics team's report, so we wanted to have, like, let's say, top 3 devices and top 3 platforms. So it was Windows, Mac and Linux on the OS, and on the app side, it was iOS and Android. Between these two, some of the form factors like the Pro Max and the Pixelware, the critical devices, plus Samsung. Yeah, obviously, it always has a place. So when we were evaluating, whenever we wanted to get any of these devices, they were just instant. There was no time waiting. There was no need to request for something. It's already available. With respect to Mac OS, for example, when I go and when I want to check something in China region of my web component, when I load there, and then I wanted to test it on macOS Catalina, Monterey, and Ventura, and even the previous versions as well, it was supported fully. I know most people may not test it, but there are still customers existing in those versions, and we have to cater to them. We can't force them, though Apple does that, but we can't really force them to move away from whatever they are used to. So they were pretty much readily available. And the data privacy, we have never seen during our evaluation period, or even now when we are using, we have never seen any traces of the previous users' information anywhere available for us to see. So that gave us so much of a confidence that whatever the testing that we do with BrowserStack on their real devices and the real platforms, definitely our data is never going to be having any trace to anybody else's who's going to use it. So yeah, that gave us a real confidence and the comfort factor. How do we line up or map this with our strategy and the roadmap which QA has? We set up a framework, and we are still setting it up, expanding, so to say. It's an overarching framework cutting across mobile, web, and API. So we needed a solution which tightly integrates with our framework, and we don't have to make massive changes to that, but we should be able to put the framework we built in-house at speed and scale. When I say speed and scale, in terms of like, at a time, we should be able to run the test scripts or the test automation suite on, let's say, 5 regions parallelly,
Right.
and 5 devices parallelly, to give more of a quick turnaround time, to talk about speed in which we can go back to the developer community or the user community with the feedback that what we can provide to them. I think that's where BrowserStack scored really high. Couple of key challenges that we had was like initially the accessibility testing, which is paramount to us. Being a massive organization takes care of or providing solutions to the student and graduate community. Obviously, you have to be careful with your compliance and everything. So we make sure our platform, both web and mobile, are completely accessibility compliant. Initially, we used to run the accessibility checks for about a little over 2 weeks before even we produce a report. But when we automated it, it took just probably 15 minutes, and BrowserStack helping us running across multiple regions. And that's still underway, but soon we should be able to see that happening at not just one region, but across regions, the same test running, and we get the perfect results. Plus, the app releases are happening twice in a week, and then we spend roughly about 2 to 3 days where at least 2 developers spend their effort on verifying all the checklist. When we finish our automation test suite to go through all those checklists, it would be down to, let's say, few hours, obviously running on multiple devices and multiple form factors and various versions as well. So yeah, so these are the key things that I can think of and talk about.
Yeah, in fact, this was something I was very, kind of itching to ask you. What results are you seeing after adopting BrowserStack? But I think you've been able to summarize it really well. And that line at the bottom of the slide is probably speaks, volumes about it. Getting your time to market down from 3 days to a few hours is tremendous. Can you also talk a bit about availability of devices on day 0? Is that something you were looking for? Was that a challenge you were also that we've been able to solve?
Absolutely. I'll come to that in a moment. I just want to touch upon this reducing time to market from 3 days to a few hours.
Sure. Yes.
Not just that, but we have an added bonus of having more coverage across multiple devices. And yeah, that was never there. So we always get to test it on only a couple of devices and couple of versions of the I'm still missing something. Yeah, the app OS, either iOS version or Android version. We were able to test only on one version max, but now we should be able to test it on number of versions, number of devices across multiple form factors as well. So it's multifold benefit for us. So yes, I'm coming to the day 0 access now. Yes, that is something that we would need, because going back to the same, our end user community who are students and the millennials and Gen Z we are talking about. Think about who's going to line up outside the Apple Store when it's going to launch. 80 to 90% students. So when they get to see the brand new device on their phone, obviously they'll load all the apps. So we wanted to be ahead of the game and make sure that when they use our app or our solutions, it needs to be seamless, no break or whatsoever, and we wanted to be ahead of the game. So day 0 access was always our need, but we didn't put it as a critical decision factor though. The reason being is that most of the vendors promise that. I must say, at this juncture, BrowserStack lives up to that. Is that a fair sum up?
I think so, yes. Talking specifically about day 0 access, something I remember that happened in the last 24 to 48 hours. I don't exactly remember whether it was yesterday or day before, but we launched the new iPhone 15 series on BrowserStack within 6.5 hours of public launch, within Apple announcing it. And we've been doing this consistently over the last, 3-4 years at least, if not longer. I know Pixel 7 came out on day zero. I know there were a few devices which came out maybe 2 days earlier. Honestly, I'm not an engineering guy, but but me being a salesperson, it feels extremely proud to go to my customers, my accounts, people I work with every day, and tell them very proudly, what our engineers have been able to pull this off.
Yeah.
You can just imagine.
You may not be an engineer or from the engineering community, but we are all engineering consumers, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Day in, day out.
Absolutely, and it actually makes sense. What the line you mentioned a few minutes ago, people are not going to wait for you to for the launch to happen of the new device, and then UNiDAYS to procure those devices. I don't know how long it's going to take for those devices to come to you, then put it into a data center, make it available. That is a lot of work, and by that time, your customers are probably moving to move away to a different solution, to a different platform. So that's lost business, that's lost revenue, and all of it has like a backward, like a trickle down effect on you. So it kind of makes sense. You're absolutely right. I had not thought of it that way. It makes sense. Cool. Now I'll just kind of quickly re-emphasize what Prabhu has been mentioning for the audience. You see on the screen right now how BrowserStack has been able to help UNiDAYS see value after adopting the solution. To summarize, we've got instant access to real devices and browsers. And when I say real devices, I mean real devices. These are not emulators or simulators. These are actual real devices that we've implemented in our data centers. And we've got 17 global DCs, which basically make sure that our cloud or our platform is delivered as close to our customers as possible. Day zero access to latest devices, we've been doing that consistently, like we mentioned earlier. Galaxy S23 came out on day zero, Pixel 7, the latest iPhone 15s, you name it, right? And something which Prabhu also touched upon in the past slides, faster and proactive customer support. Our SLAs, our response SLAs are 6 hours. That's unbeatable. No other vendor in the market is able to pull that off. In fact, the actual response times are lesser than 30 minutes. But obviously, we don't want to guarantee that to our customers. So let's keep this private, Prabhu, between you and me. But we guarantee. I'm sorry.
We're not private anymore, Annie. We are public now. More people are listening to us.
I know. I was so involved in this conversation, I forgot there's an audience that that is on the webinar as well.
That's good, actually.
But one last question I wanted to ask you, Prabhu, is so this last point around real-time insights. Now, you are the head of QA at UNiDAYS. Your developers and QA engineers as devs might not be looking at dashboards and usage analytics every day, but I'm pretty sure you do. You need to see how your team is performing. How has this aspect on BrowserStack helped you out?
It really gives us the fantastic information on hand to think on the way forward. Also, we have not set up the working dashboards as yet because we are still in the process of making it available. But the insights that it provides, for example, the console logs and the deeper information that we can get to, that gives us an empowerment to the whole of the testing community, right? Like when we go back to the developers, say that, yeah, this is the problem that we think that we should fix it, rather than saying that, yeah, this could be. I come from the days where we used to say, this bug is intermittent. People are not going to say it anymore because we are very sure about this particular bug, or we are very sure about this particular thing, how it happened, how it worked, or how it not worked, how it has failed. We should be able to go back to them with the real-time information with respect to console logs and any other deeper insights that the BrowserStack can offer. And also, obviously, with the tight integration with your frameworks, it can substantiate with or supplement with the various the screen recordings, the video information, and any other relevant information that is available within the insights and the dashboard section, it's massively useful to me. Not just me, but anybody. To your question, not just being head of QA, it's going to be useful for anybody who's using this platform, if I'm not wrong.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. I think I was kind of looking at it more from the leadership perspective, but even a day-to-day, I mean, someone who uses the platform day-to-day can literally look at how they've been testing, what they've been testing on. We've got, like you said, we've got deep integrations with Jira, with Bugzilla, with a lot of other, bug tracking tools, project management systems, CI/CD systems. So yeah, it gives a lot of powerful functionality. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I intentionally didn't want to go to that leadership metrics that you can drive from it, because we have not set up, we haven't set up as yet. But when we set up the right quality gates across the pipeline and the insights that BrowserStack would offer to us, it's going to become so handy to us, like how to evaluate, how to measure how we perform, and how we fast forward ourselves and measure the way we fail safe and fail fast, and then be more resilient going forward. So those are the critical metrics that any leadership would really want to delve in from the BrowserStack dashboards and insights.
Yeah. Cool. And it's thank you once again, Prabhu. You've been sharing a lot of insights on UNiDAYS. I'll just take take the audience through this slide. This gets us to our vision. I know, Prabhu, you and I have spoken about this. You've spoken to our different engineering divisions and departments at BrowserStack too, so you're kind of aware. But for the larger audience, this is how we look at BrowserStack's product or platform evolving. In today's ecosystem, there is not a single platform which caters to a variety of different test ops needs, right? You'll probably have one vendor which provides the test infrastructure. There's another vendor who might probably provide you with API testing. There's another vendor who might be able to who can provide you with observability, accessibility. Now in this day and age, surprisingly, most of these vendors that we've come across, and we've been in the space for almost 12 years, more than 12 years in fact, we've understood that most of these vendors out there don't make their systems talk to each other, which is a disappointment. So if I take X solution from a vendor and Y solution from a different vendor, if I look at it as an ecosystem, I'm not able to make those talk. Or even if there are APIs available for the systems to talk to each other, it does not really work seamlessly. So this is one of the problems BrowserStack wants to solve, and we're already on our way doing it. We started off as a test infrastructure platform, but we want to essentially become a one-stop shop for everything test ops, right? And this slide basically talks about some of the products we're rolling out or have rolled out already, which gets us to that space. So we want to become an ecosystem player. We've got the traditional live testing, accessibility testing, API testing, but you'll also see a lot of other newer aspects come up, like test management, test observability. So tomorrow we are envisioning a scenario where a developer can seamlessly write tests using a low-code, no-code platform, or via Selenium, Cypress, Nightwatch, so on and so forth. Within the BrowserStack ecosystem, we will provide you with tools for that. Then they can run those same tests on our test infrastructure, on our real devices and infrastructure, and then also provide the ability for observability of those tests to derive insights of how those tests are performing, and a bunch of other stuff from there as well, right? So that's our eventual vision. There are other. So what you see on the screen, some of it we've already done. Some we have lined up over the next 6 to 9 months and longer. Things like API automation, security testing, load testing, all of those are also going to be part of the ecosystem. But we'd love to take any questions on this from the audience. Now, Prabhu, question back at you. How interested do you think you might be in looking at these other solutions as well? But before that, do you think this vision actually makes sense for you?
It does, yes. Having if not for everything, but most of it in one ecosystem, it's always, it's one-stop solution we talk about, but it's never going to be one-stop solution. But at least we have most of them in one ecosystem. It's always going to be very welcomed. And to me, I'm looking at more of the accessibility testing and the API automation. We are very curious to see what's coming up. I know that there were a few launches already, so we are going to try and evaluate and see how that fits our roadmap and strategy, and then we'll start using it.
Awesome. We'd love to engage with you on that. Which brings us to our next poll question. Can that poll be thrown up, please? Right. And this is for the larger audience. Prabhu, unfortunately, you and I cannot answer this, but poll is around which of the products the audience is interested in. Now, these are multiple choice, so feel free to tick as many boxes as you'd like to. And please understand, this is not just for us gathering interest from the audience, but it'll just help us with feedback on what the demand in the market is. It'll also help us engage with you if you'd like to be spoken to, and for us to showcase what the platform's capabilities are around these new products.
Absolutely. Also, whilst this poll is running, Adi, is it okay if I take a quick half a minute?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, who are all the audiences I can, and also the future prospects who were wanting to go with the cloud-based device form solution, I would recommend go with your specific use case, specific scenario, and reach out to the vendors. Please reach out to BrowserStack, because we are with them and they are great. I would highly recommend you to give a try and make sure get onto the journey. I'm sure you will never be disappointed, in my humble opinion.
Thank you, Prabhu. And once again, we really greatly appreciate the confidence they've shown in us. All right, let's look at the results. I'm keen to see what they show up. There you go. Interesting. So browser automation grid has 63%. Interesting results. Prabhu, I think a lot of people are in the same boat as you.
Yeah,
51% looking for accessibility.
I don't want to miss a boat anytime, sir. which is really interesting, because as I mentioned earlier, many of the organizations are moving towards being more compliant. So it's good to see that. So I'm welcoming that.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad on that topic. If I can just take maybe a few additional seconds on accessibility. In a lot of countries, making sure your application is accessible has become a government regulation. It's being regulated right now. I'm not sure if it's the same in the UK, but I have heard it's become a mandatory requirement in the US and Canada, probably followed by a few other countries as well. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because everyone should be able to access an application. So that's another thing people and organizations might have to keep in mind, and we're more than happy to support them in that endeavor.
Yeah. End of the day, it's not being mandated or anything, but any other organization, if not for UNiDAYS, but any other organization, if they are faced with the lawsuit with a huge penalty, and then it becomes everything mandatory, right? So it's best to think forward and then probably shift left everything, do everything right at the time, even if any other countries are not mandating, but better to be on the game and make sure that you're upfront.
Awesome. Okay, Prabhu, thank you for sharing whatever you've shared. Again, I know I've thanked you enough number of times, but there is not a day I will not go. I will not thank you again. But this has been wonderful. I'll just summarize. The key factors that organizations and developers and engineers should look at when they're evaluating a test solution on the cloud. You have a lot of content on the screen. these are the key factors that people should be looking at, and how BrowserStack is able to drive value along all of these metrics. Just to quickly, run the audience through what my thoughts are. Organizations should look at scale, device availability, the ability to run your tests as quickly as possible and decrease time to market, because your competitors might be able to do that. They are probably shipping code and products much quicker than you are. Improving developer experience also is a metric you should look at. And developer experience does not necessarily mean providing them with the best of breed tools. It is also about making them more efficient. The feedback loop, I've heard of many organizations have a feedback loop which might be days or weeks, when a piece of code goes from a developer to a tester and comes back with bugs. Shortening that cycle is one key aspect of reducing the time to market. So these are key things we believe organizations should be looking at when they're evaluating a test platform. But one thing we haven't really emphasized on enough number of times is the aspect of support and uptime. And this is especially true when you're evaluating a cloud vendor. Many vendors might be able to offer you a test infrastructure, which is quite easy, but making sure it's available with high availability, with a high level of resiliency and redundancy is a completely different breed of solution, right? And that's where kind of BrowserStack is able to set itself apart from a competition. The fact that we're able to deliver this through 17 global data centers with day zero launches, being able to support a wide variety of testing techniques and frameworks and ecosystems. So make sure you're looking at the right metrics. Make sure, and we're happy to have more discussion around this for people who are interested. Just hit us up in the Q&A section. Thank you. And we're at the end of a webinar. Prabhu, once again, thank you for the time. It's been super talking to you, and it's been really nice knowing about the journey you've gone through in tackling our business challenges and how we've been able to help. Thank you to the larger audience who've been able to make time to attend the webinar. We'll hopefully see everyone soon.
Yeah, you're welcome, Adi. And once again, thank you so much for everyone taking the time to and patiently listening to us, and then all the great questions is really appreciated. And have a very good rest of the evening or good morning or afternoon. Have a fantastic time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, Prabhu.